What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing this Monday afternoon as I'm recording this? All of y'all are probably going to be seeing this on Tuesday. So for those of y'all that are going to be seeing this on Tuesday or whenever other day of the week, happy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday. Neighbor's dog got me a little bit distracted right there. This room can be a little bit, loud like sometimes, The thing is, like when you're first starting like a podcast, obviously it's not gonna be, like perfect. You know what I mean? Like ideally, you'd want to have like your own studio. You'd want to have, those. I don't even know what you'd call them, like those. When you're in a music studio and they have like, the little booth where it's completely like, soundproof. Any kind of like outside noise is pretty much completely filtrated out, so that way, like when you're recording your audio, you don't have to, like worry about anything in like the background, like getting caught into like the audio. That's like the ideal, like state that you'd want to like be in, like when you're doing anything like audio, whether it's like recording music, whether it's doing like a podcast, a radio show. That's like the ideal state that you'd want to like be in. Obviously I'm not there yet, but obviously you start out like somewhere, and that's like the big difference between like someone that like gets stuff done and then somebody who just like puts it off into like a later date. You know what I mean? Everybody knows I like the type of person. Even right now, like even some of you that might be listening to this are probably like that. In the sense that, like you put something off because, you think like at a later date, it'll be like a more ideal, more adequate time to start something. If you have something that, like you want to do, like start now, like if you have like this business idea, that you want to get done, start that shit off now. You know what I mean? If you have like a podcast if you have like this idea for a podcast you want to do, go ahead and start it out like right now. You have to like get rid of like this notion that like there's like a perfect time. Like if you wait for there to be like in your mind a perfect time, I hate to break it to y'all, but that perfect time ain't coming. Sometimes the only opportunity that you're gonna have, to like get something off the ground is like right now. Opportunities that like don't last. I mean, like I don't want to like take like a like a hard note, but we're all mortal. You know what I mean? Like in the sense that we could be here one day, but we're not going to be here like another. You always just like take that into consideration. Like that's why it's always ideal to I don't want to say like live every single day like as if like it were like your last, because I know there'll probably be like some connotations like to that, but you would just live like every day like to its fullest potential. Like in the sense that like if you put out your best potential every single day, you want to get like the feeling that at the end of the day, like when you're getting ready to go to bed, you can reflect on your day, and just be like, man, I got a lot of stuff done today. You could be proud of all the stuff that you accomplished today. That's it. That's kind of like the mental state that you want to like have when it comes to like your goals and stuff like that. Don't hold stuff back. I don't know who said it. I might be messing up like the quote, but there's like a big notable quote that basically states that like what's the biggest killer of dreams? Procrastination. For the exact same reason. Well, there's various reasons why people procrastinate, but one of them is just like well, that perfect time is gonna come. I don't have the money to like start up that side hustle, so I'm just gonna go ahead and maybe do like 6 months like down the line. Now that's not the best time to start getting my workout schedule in order. Because I got like work and all this other stuff. I don't want to ask her out right now. Like now's not the best time. Like maybe like next week. If you don't like like opportunities go away. Okay, you have to take that into consideration. Like when it comes to anything that you want to do. Not everything is finite. Not everything is gonna be here. Like tomorrow. There's gonna be like some business opportunities that are gonna be thriving right now that are not gonna be around like next year. Or 5 years from now. Or hell, even 6 months from now. You have to always take that into consideration. So what are you doing right now? Are you accomplishing the things that you want to do in life at this very moment, or are you just like putting it off at a later date because you think some perfect moment is going to come for you to do exactly that? I get it. I guess that's like the first big motivational kind of rant that I wanted to do today. To just not put stuff off. You know what I mean? Like with this podcast. I could have easily, held off this, doing this whole podcast until I was at, maybe if I was in like a better place. You know what I mean? Like when I'm in a better room that's not as that has better soundproofing. I could have just waited. But if I continue to wait, that's more time. That I will have to take, to grow the audience, and maybe if I waited, there was going to be, there's going to be people that, that are not going to be able to hear that message, that would have completely been able to hear my message now. You know what I mean? I probably didn't explain that a little bit too well, but y'all get the idea. Just don't hold stuff back. I guess that's the big message that I would want to take to all y'all today. Opportunities don't last. So don't procrastinate and take action. If you have like any goals that you want to get done, whether they be small or very ambitious, get started on them now. And because like I said, there is no such thing as a perfect opportunity. So the better and the quicker you take that first step, the more closer that you get to accomplishing that goal or that dream that you have in life. But anyway, I guess that was a good amount of time just making out the point that why am I blanking right now when I just spent like 9 minutes just like talking about this one topic? Damn. I just spent like 10 minutes, just talking about, there's no such thing as like a perfect opportunity. So, I honestly just intended that to be like a side point, because I had some other things that I wanted to like talk about. I was gonna talk a little bit of how my week's been, but I didn't even introduce the podcast. I don't even think so. So let me go ahead and do that, But welcome everyone to Freedom and Hustle. I believe this is episode 6. This is the podcast where you get all the necessary motivational and information relating to business, health, anything of that manner, and you get it all in less than about 30 to an hour or so. I should probably think of like a better tagline because that one that punchline is not really not too well. I think I could probably think of a better one, but that's the one I'm gonna go with for right now. But anyway. I hope everybody had a good week. I definitely did. By the end of this week, I'm going to be 21. If y'all can believe that, And I know some of y'all that are probably like watching the video of like this podcast. You're probably like seeing my baby face and you're thinking that boy's not going to be 21. But hate to break it to y'all, yes, I will be 21 very very soon. So. So I don't feel like it, to be honest, I know so there's some people that are gonna be complaining that why you complain about being like 21, like you're still like way too young. But even then, it's still like a sharp like reminder that you're not the kid that you once was, like even like 5 years ago, which in the grand scheme of things was not too long ago, like 5 years ago. I was just like a brand new boy in high school, and now I'm about to be 21. So it's pretty crazy, So this is like birthday week for me. So I'm gonna be taking like a pretty chill approach, you know, like for this week. I do have like some other goals I do have in mind, you know, of course, like doing these podcast episodes as usual. Like I do have like some other goals like related to like my the side hustle that I'm working with. So hopefully I can you know, like accomplish all that, you know, and you know, like make something like out of it, you know. I might talk a little bit more about like you know, like the other the side hustles that I do, you know, like eventually like down the line, like I do want this to this podcast meaning to like to not only do I want to grow it, you know, of course, and you know, to get like as many listeners as possible, like, you know, hearing the message, you know, and you know, and taking a liking to it, and you know, like following this content, you know, because like this is what the main reason for doing this podcast is for, you know, like just like inspiring people to, you know, like get to just, you know, accomplish, you know, the dreams and goals that, you know, that they were destined to do. So that's like the main point of like this this podcast. But you know, I do, just like any other like podcast, you know, it's a pretty good idea to also like look for routes to like monetize. So eventually, like, you know, down the road, you know, I could do this podcast could also be like another good monetization route, you know, like on my end, you know. Everyone's got to make a living like somehow, you know, and hopefully like this podcast can at least you know, provide that route in one way or or another. So of course, like this podcast is one route where I plan to, you know, like have like an income route. But of course, I do have like some other side hustles, and you know, if y'all like, you know, I can go ahead and discuss like, you know, like the projects that you know, I'm thinking about working on, you know, stuff like, you know, like passive income, you know, like the business ideas that I got and that I hopefully plan on implementing very soon. You know, like stuff like that, you know, since it's already like related to the stuff that we were discussing here anyways, I might as well go ahead and just like run it down to y'all, and if that's something that y'all think is interesting, y'all just like let me know, express yourselves, okay? This is a podcast for y'all, okay? So the best way how I can, you know, like improve, you know, like the content that I put out, you know, like every week or so, is, you know, just hearing directly from y'all, you know what I mean? So just like any like topics, or hell, like even just like feedback, you know, from the stuff that I already put out, just like let me know, all right? You know, no hard feelings if it's like negative or anything, especially if it's like constructive. You know, I can, you know, definitely, you know, like take it. You know, I'm a big boy. I'm taking kind of like criticism, you know, and if it's constructive, I can definitely, you know, like consider it and you know, improve myself, you know, for the better. But anyway, should I actually go ahead and continue on with the main topic of this podcast? Let me go ahead and review my notes for this. Yeah. Well, I might as well like discuss like how my week's been. So like I said, like my week's been like pretty chill. You know, like this episode is probably like as not as well prepared as like some of the other ones, because I had like a surprise appointment earlier today. So I had like an appointment like at 10 o'clock, you know, today, and I had legit no idea that I had like this appointment, you know. It was like at 9 o'clock, and I realized like, oh, I got an appointment at 10 o'clock. And you know, that kind of like threw me off for like a couple of hours, you know, because, you know, you have to attend, and you know, kind of like throws the schedule that you had pre-planned a little bit off balance, you know. And because of that, it's probably like this episode probably not, I guess, not as well balanced as like it probably should be, but that's all good, you know. At the very least, I got the results for my blood work. So in earlier this well, not this month, but last month, like pretty early in the month of January, I did like some blood work, and I just now got the results. And your boy is very healthy. He's a very healthy 20-year-old, you know. You know, I never like doing blood work because I always get like the feeling, you know, I probably shouldn't like put like these negative thoughts, because you know, because like they always say, like I've always been saying, like, you know, like attracts like, you know, and the same goes if, you know, if it's any thought that's like negative, you know, like you attract that kind of stuff, you know. So, but I was still like getting the like these negative feelings about like the blood work, you know, which is kind of natural for me, because, you know, I hate needles. I don't mess with them. You know, if there's like any way how I can, get the same results, without having to do like blood work, I'd definitely take it. But I was getting like all these negative feelings that, like, hey, what if these results show something that's not too good? But thankfully today, I was just being a very paranoid person, because I found out that, I'm very, very healthy. And, partially I kind of do attribute that, excuse me, to intermediate fasting. So, which I do like every day now, and it is sick, in a good way, of course. It's pretty dope. So for anybody like that doesn't know, intermediate fasting, is, of course, hence the name, is a variation of fasting. But what it often like entails is basically so basically so for, well, there's like variations for like how much time you want to go, like without like eating. But the most common, and the one that I go with, is 16 to 8. And what that means is that you go 16 hours without eating, and then like between a period of 8 hours, that's when you eat. So in my instance, I usually like start eating anywhere between like 9 o'clock to 10 a.m. Depending like when did I stop eating the night before, and like between like those 8 hours, like from like 9 to 10 a.m. to 5 to 6, I can eat whatever, okay? Like whatever my heart desires. Like if I just want to, enjoy a bunch of McDonald's food, as if it was like a buffet, I can do that. As long as it's within like that 8-hour period. And then once 5 or 6 o'clock comes around, that's when like the fasting starts. And so from from like 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock to 9 to 10 the next day, I'm basically fasting. So that's like about 16 hours more or less, and it's pretty good. I won't lie. I feel great like just about like every day. I legit cannot recall the last time like I felt like really like sick. Like where I've had like any kind of like illness or anything like that. I don't know if you can like completely attribute that to the intermediate fasting, but I'm sure it's got something to do with it. I've seen like people that do intermediate fasting and they are healthy as hell, so it's got to like amount to something, eventually like down the line, I wanted to like I'd want to do like even longer fastings. Like at some point I kind of like want to do a 24-hour fast. I've done like 24-hour like fast before, but usually like that's for that's not because of like a strict decision of mine. It's usually just because of like circumstance that I've done like 24 hours fastings. But at some point I'd want to like do them like more often to just see like how my body like reacts to it. A lot of people get like a lot of good like results from like fasting, like and not just from like weight loss and stuff like that, like even just like up for other like health stuff, like people find good results from it. So that's why I like doing it. So my recommendation for y'all is try like intermediate fasting. Obviously like if you can't spend like 1 hour without eating, and then all of a sudden you start doing intermediate fasting, it might be a little bit more hard to adjust. If that's you, if that sounds like you, then maybe you should take like little steps, if you know what I mean. Like maybe go like 10 hours without eating, and then like slowly climb your way up, where you do 12-12, like where you go like 12 hours without eating, 12 hours where you're allowed to eat, up to like the point where where I'm at right now, which is doing 16 to 8, 16 hours without eating, and then 8 hours where there's a period where you can't eat, just about anything, just something that you should like definitely like consider, And by the way, I do have to play this disclaimer out. I'm not a health expert, so just like putting that out there. So not everything is meant for everybody. Like everybody's bodies is different. So don't take this as medical advice. But I'm just telling from my own instance, and from a lot of examples from other people. Intermediate fasting is pretty dope, you know. So maybe just something that you should like consider, you know. Again, you know, not coming from someone who's a medical expert. Just like some ignorant 20 soon to be 21-year-old, you know, just giving, you know, like their own you know, dietary strategy, if you could even call it that. But anyway, that's a little bit of background as to like how my week's been, and I'm gonna go ahead and move on. I think I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the main topic of this this podcast. You know, this topic is like pretty simple, so to be honest, I might not spend too much time talking about it. Like other than the concept that I want to talk about today, which is the Dream 100 idea. I do also I also want to do like a short book review of I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse by Michael Franzese. So I mentioned like this book, I think like briefly, I did last week, and I think I might do like a little bit of a review for like this book, because I really enjoyed this book, like legit. I think it's a pretty decent book, you know. You know, it's not it's not the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like it's not like the 4-hour work week. Like it's not. I wouldn't call this book like on this level, you know. But it's a very decent like business book, and there's definitely like some good ideas that you can definitely draw from your business from like reading like this book, you know. And it's coming from somebody who was actually in the made life, you know, who was actually a mobster, and is you know, telling you their ideas for how you can, you know, adopt some of the strategies that he followed within the life, and you can apply it to like your business, you know. It's a pretty interesting book, so I might go ahead and discuss this a little bit more later on in the podcast. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the Dream 100. So, what exactly is the Dream 100? You know, what is that, like that whole idea, you know? Sounds a little bit fictitious, if you know what I mean. But what the Dream 100 basically means is, you know, it's a marketing concept, you know? It's a strategy to help, you know, like grow your audience and influence, you know? And I can't remember like who exactly you know, like came up with the concept or coined the term, but I got but at least from what I've seen, the person that popularized the whole idea was Russell Brunson. Some of y'all, you know, who are like more into like the business entrepreneur space, y'all might know who he is. You know, he's the ClickFunnels guy. So you know, like one of the best softwares like make like sales funnels and stuff like that. So I got the concept like from him, and I think he's the one who's most known for coining like the idea. But I'm sure, you know, like the idea is not like that new. Like I'm sure, you know, like the idea of creating like, you know, like a team, you know, of a Dream 100 of some sorts has like been around for a while. What exactly like is it? Like what's the whole idea of like the Dream 100? So basically, the whole idea of like the Dream 100, you know, like I said, you know, it's a strategy to help grow your audience, you know, and help gain, you know, influence. And you know, this is especially good, you know, like if you're someone who's like, let's say, you know, you're starting from zero, you know, you're starting from the bottom, you know, and you want to, you know, like help grow, you know, like your reputation. You want to help grow your influence, you know, like within like a certain market or niche. And it's a good strategy like to help, you know, like grow it, you know. But how exactly would you do that, you might ask? So what the Dream 100 like basically means is that, okay, so basically you'd find the top people like within like your market or niche. So they could be like influencers, they could be you know, like the top entrepreneurs, they could be, you know, like anybody like of that sort, you know, like in whatever market or niche that you're in, and you try to follow them. You try to, you know, connect with their audience, and if possible, you know, try to connect directly with them like as well, you know, depending on like how big the influencer is. That might be a little bit more hard to do, but if it's possible, try connecting with them, and you know, just provide value to either like the to the influencer, to the entrepreneur, you know, himself or herself, you know, provide as much value to like their audience as well, you know. And as the law of I can't even say the the name of the term. But basically, whatever value you put out into the world, you tend to get some value back. So like if you're constantly like providing value to the influencer, to like this big influential person within like your marketing niche, and providing value to like their audience as well, eventually you're gonna bring attention to yourself. The some of the members like within that marketing niche, like they're gonna start seeing you. They're gonna be seeing all the value that like you're providing to them, and then like eventually they're gonna start following you. They're gonna start like liking the content that you put out yourself. And then surely but surely, you're gonna start creating like an audience for yourself. And one that's gonna be like very loyal, and that's actually gonna like your content. Because you're already putting out content that like they like. And they already know like what you're about and that you're genuine. And surely but surely, you're gonna start creating like a reliable audience. And when you start like looking into like the concept, you can understand like exactly why the concept like makes like so much sense, and like why it works. Because like nobody like wants to like follow someone that doesn't like provide like anything of like value or any like usefulness or like whatever. I mean we've all like seen people like that like online. Like you scroll down like let's say like a top video or whatever, or a top Instagram post, and like you see like within the comments you'll see someone like saying like hey, follow my YouTube, follow my IG, I'm posting like new music content, go ahead and check it out. Like they're literally not providing any kind of like value whatsoever. And those and like nobody likes following those, and you want to know exactly why, because they ain't providing value. So why would you go ahead and like following them? And they're basically doing like shout out for shout out, or I don't even know that's not even like shout out or shout out. That's just like simply just like that's just shouting out, like yourself, because at least with shouting out, like at least like you're promoting someone, and then they're promoting you back. So at least like it's like it's a two-way street. Like it's not just you, I guess, like in a way just being completely selfish, which is what you do often see sometimes in some top comments, where it's just like people just like promoting themselves, like without like giving nothing back like in return like whatsoever. And a similar concept to this, and this is like a strategy that I've been doing, just to not only grow my personal IG, but to also to helping grow the Instagram of like this podcast. Is so Gary Vaynerchuk has a I'm sure some of y'all probably know him, or Gary V, as he's probably like much better known. He has this strategy that's called like the I think it's called like the $1.80 strategy, or like the $1.80, something like that. And the concept is pretty similar. So basically, like his whole idea is like whether it be like on YouTube, or maybe not on YouTube, but like on Instagram, on LinkedIn, any platform like that. Like you find content that's related to the stuff that you do, and like you give that, and within that market or niche, you go ahead and you start liking the content, and you start like you put down like useful comments, excuse me, and eventually down the line, similar to like the Dream 100 idea, people are gonna start like seeing like like the value, within like with engagement that you put out like for other people, and like the helpful comments that you put out, and you start bringing attention to yourself, and slowly but surely, just like with the Dream 100, start growing yourself like an audience. Honestly, I think the Dream 100 is pretty similar, but I think like the Dream 100 approach is like a little bit like better. Like I think like if you want to like fast track like growth for your, whatever venture that you're in, whether it be like a podcast, YouTube channel, a business, or whatever, I think the Dream 100 route is probably like the fastest strategy that you can go with in order to grow like that exact thing. But the $1.80 strategy is pretty well as well. Just always like remember, everyone, is that if you want people to like to start like following you, give them a reason, to like follow you and to like to catch up with everything that like you're doing. There's got to be like a reason. Like in a way, like like nobody, like nothing's free in this world. Like maybe not. Okay, so even like when there's not like money involved. So in the sense of like growing an audience, like maybe like literal money doesn't have to like be involved, but you still got to provide value like in some way. Like you can't just go up to someone, like in the street and just be like, hey, like go follow my IG. I'm putting like a lot of posts out there. You should go ahead and go out and like. You have to provide value in some way, everyone. And that's like the biggest point of just like growing like any kind of audience, or getting like any kind of like influence, especially if you want to be seen as like an expert within like a certain niche or market. You got to provide a lot of value, and you're not going to be doing that by just just randomly like promoting yourself like within other people's like comment sections. See that so often. I know y'all do as well, and but it just doesn't work, and then you go ahead and see like the the people that promote themselves. You see like their the amount of like engagement that they get with like their own profiles, and it's like really abysmal. And you kind of see why, because you're not providing any kind of benefit to anyone. You're just promoting yourself. And nobody messes with that. Nobody likes that. So just always provide as much value that you can to your niche or audience or anything like that. And like over time, people are gonna start like valuing it, and you're gonna start slowly but surely, creating like an audience for yourself, and eventually you're gonna gain like the expert status within that market or niche, that you might want to desire, because being seen as an expert within a market or niche, that brings like a lot more opportunities there than you can even think, but yeah, I think I hit the whole topic and nailed it on its head, so that's the whole idea of the Dream 100. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and honestly move on to the book review that I wanted to do. My bad, I can't speak today. I still gotta get my voice used to like speaking for long periods of time. Some people like tend to think that like podcasting is like easy or whatever. Like all you literally gotta do is just like just sit down, chill for a little bit, and just talk. But to anybody that has like that kind of mindset, I challenge you. Like you don't even have to do like a podcast. You just do a recording for yourself for like 15 minutes. Oh, that's not even like 15. But do a recording, of yourself for 15 minutes, just talking about whatever, and see how long you can last without just like rambling, just making yourself look like a complete fool, saying something that doesn't make sense, it's a lot harder than you think, so that's why, one tip that I'd give to anyone that is starting out like a podcast, that wants to get into the podcast game, write yourself like notes, or even like some kind of like script, like if you if that's like a route that you want to go with, because like you need to have like a frame of reference, like to have when you're like when you're putting in like content, because if you don't do that, like if you don't have like a frame of reference for like what you're gonna talk about like within like a certain podcast episode, you're gonna start rambling, like you're gonna start sounding incoherent, and nobody's gonna like want to continue like listening, because you're just like saying shit that doesn't like make sense, basically, so that's why I'd really recommend like putting out like notes, and the more notes that you have, like the better. So that's why I make notes for like these podcasts like every single week or so, like even if I feel like that I already know what I'm gonna talk about off the top of my head, it's still good to like write it out, because like what if I forget, what if like I'm in the middle of making like a big point, and then all of a sudden like my brain just decided to stop functioning for a moment, then you screwed, basically, so that's why make as much notes as possible, like for your podcast episodes. It'll really work out in the end. I can promise you that. You'll definitely get like a lot less like ramblings if you do so. But anyway, let me make sure that the recording is fine. Okay, I just gotta make sure. I still get paranoid sometimes that like I'm gonna look at the recording one day, and then I'm gonna see that that I like the very first podcast episode that I did. Where it just looked like a freeze frame like movie or whatever. Like I had I'm pretty sure for the first episode I had like the camera, the webcam I should say, recording at like 30 frames per second, but it looked like it was like recording at like 5 frames per second. Like it looked terrible. So for that reason, I still have to make sure that everything is like still recording completely fine without any kind of issues or nothing like that. Y'all know what I mean. But anyway, let me take a sip of H2O real quick. Ay, Maria. Good thing I had the cap on already. Sometimes you just sometimes you just get clumsy. Nothing you can really do about that. But anyway, I think I also had some notes about the book on my phone, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up real quick. Okay. But anyway, all right, so this is gonna be a really amateur book review because I probably should have wrote some notes in relating to this book review. So this is literally gonna be an off the cuff book review of I'm making an offer you can't refuse. So I'm basically just going off of the stuff that I remember about the book off the top of my head. So it's gonna be a pretty amateur book review, but eventually I get better at doing this kind of stuff. But anyway, so like I said, the name of this book, I'm gonna go ahead and I might push it a little bit more further to the webcam for anybody that's watching the video of this, so that way you can get a good idea of the book that I was reading from most of January. So I've been giving myself a goal of reading at least a book a month. I'm trying to read a little bit more than that, but I give myself the goal of at least reading a book a month, because that way that's a good ambitious goal. I'm still reading more than most people, on average, but it's still a goal that I know that I can achieve, and I'm probably gonna be reading more books anyway. So but this is the main book by far that I read in January. This is a pretty good business book, I won't lie. So of course, like I've stated before, the name of the book is "I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse." So, and for those of y'all who are big fans of The Godfather, like yours truly, you kind of get an idea of where that term comes from. But that's the name of the book. "I'll Make You an Offer You Can't Refuse." The author, of course, is Michael Franzese, and for those of y'all, I might give you all a little bit of background about this man. He was a former captain of the Colombo family. So this dude was he was a legit mob guy. He was a legit made man. He wasn't technically a mob boss. I don't think he was that high in the ranks, but he was a capo in the I think that's the term that the Italian made men would use. I think that's the term, but he was a captain within the ranks. So I think he was third in rank basically within the Colombo family. And I think he was in the life for 20 a good 20 years or so until he decided he was gonna leave the life. He was gonna open himself a new chapter for his life, and he's one of the only known former made guys that was able to completely leave the life, and still survive to this day, which is still like pretty interesting. Still to this day he does like a lot of like seminars. I'm sure you can find like a lot of good interviews that he's done like online. He's a pretty like interesting guy. And he definitely does have a lot of stories, a lot of interesting stories like from like within the life. So he's a very interesting guy. you should definitely like listen to some of his interviews because he's definitely interesting. Like you can get stuck into a rabbit hole like just listen to like interviews of him. To be honest, another good note that's like also like really interesting is that so not only is he like one of the only made men to like leave like the life so, like so publicly, but I think he was also able to do so without like testifying or like writing out like any of his like former boys, basically. So he was kind of like he's kind of like a reverse Tekashi 6ix9ine in a way. If you think about it, like he was able to completely leave. Not saying those of course like consequences. Like I think he served like like 10 years, like behind bars, for his for some of his actions, while he's in the life. But he was able to completely leave without like testifying, without turning himself a rat or anything like that. And he's still breathing to this day, and he's doing like a lot of I'm assuming he does like a lot of business stuff now. I know he's a motivational speaker. He considers himself a born again Christian. So he's definitely like turned a big chapter in his life. He's a very interesting dude. And another interesting note that I actually found out today is that I think his father was actually like I think the underboss. So I think so that's actually the second tier down from basically like like the top mob boss within like a family. I can't remember if that's exactly the case, so don't quote me on that. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, but that's from what I've heard. I think that was once the case. And his father is still alive and breathing. I think he's like 103 now. So needless to say, this man is pretty interesting. But about 10 years ago, I think about 11 now, because I think like this book came out in '09. You could kind of tell because I think I got like an old copy, and it's kind of showing. This copy that I have does have a little bit of like if that old book smell, even though this book's only like 10 years old. It still has like that old book smell. So this book came out in '09, and basically just to give like a brief a very brief summary of what this book is like all about. He gives out like a lot of good business tips that he drew from from his time like within the life like within like the mob, and a lot of the tips that he puts out like within the book, you could argue they're like a lot common sense, like like hey like sometimes it's better to just listen than to speak, like don't speak out of turn, like try to treat everyone that you're negotiating with decent like respect, and it's tips like those, but then also he gives like some other good some good like tips as well, that are like more drawn to like that are like more drawn from when he was still like a made guy, like I think like he gave like a good tip, when it comes to, like doing business meetings and stuff like that, so like one of the things like he discussed in his book is you should treat like more you should treat like business meeting as if like it's like a sit down, not in like the literal like mob sense of like a sit down, but like draw like some elements of it. So basically like like get to the point basically, like when you're doing like a business meeting, because like it's not the universal case, but but there's like a lot of like business meetings that you might see where like they're just going on and on about like stuff that that legit does not matter, in regards to, like the business, like they're talking about like we enjoyed our vacation the other like last week. It was very fun, how was your summer break, Sally, a lot of business meetings like tend to deviate into that, and it does like distract from like what's the main purpose of the business meeting is, which is discuss like what are the prevailing matters of like the business and reach some kind of like agreement or whatever. So his tip, when it comes to like business meetings, is treat it like more like a sit down or whatever, where the business meeting is straight to the point, like what exactly you're gonna talk about, when you guys like do like the business meeting, and there's no ifs or buts about it, and everybody's like to the point, and everybody can like draw something from like the business meeting. It saves a lot more time. Like when like for the business, like when you treat like business meetings like that. Um, and that was like one really good tip that I really liked drawing from when it came to when it came to like reading this book. Another one that I just like remembered is like a good negotiation tactic. Like when you're like when you're like in a business meeting or just like any kind of like like negotiation setting, is to is put yourself like in the mindset where you're making like the person that you're negotiating with think that they're winning on their terms, but quietly like that you're winning on like on your own terms. So I guess like an example would be like let's say like you're negotiating with like a business partner or whatever, and you guys are not in agreement on like a certain thing. When you're negotiating with them, you want to like get them to think that like, hey, they're getting everything that like they wanted, and there's various strategies like doing so. But you want them to basically get them to think that hey, they're the ones who are winning. Comes like to this negotiation, but secretly, quietly, like you're getting like what you wanted, and that's like a really good negotiation strategy that he mentioned. There's various routes for how you can like do that, but that's like one aspect of negotiation that you should like always consider. Um, you know, like I said, this is a pretty like amateur um, book review. I really should have like made like more notes for like this book because I really enjoyed like this book. Like this is definitely a well-made book. Of course, this is not the greatest business book like in the world. Like this is not like the 4 Hour Work Week. This is not How to Win Friends and Influence People. Like it's not on that level, but this is definitely a book that I'd get like a read. And at least like for the very least, to at least like 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 listen or not listen, but like read some like some past instances that Michael's had like when he was like in the mob that he later drew to like his businesses. Because like within like this book, he does talk about like like when he's talking about like some business tips. He specifically like they discuss like instances from like when he was like in the life. Some instances like within the life that it, and those were like the instances that he used to help draw these business tips that he's putting out like now. Um, but anyhow, this is like a very enjoyable book, I'd say. So I think this book is on Amazon. I think the last time I checked, I think there might only be like used copies or so. So I'm guessing like copies of this book is like scarce for whatever reason. But if you can find yourself a copy, I definitely like give it like a read. And if not, then I'm gonna have to make y'all an offer that y'all can't refuse. So definitely check out this book. I'll make you an offer you can't refuse by Michael Franzese. Great book. Really enjoyed it. I think it cost me like $10 or so. Um, it was a good read. I think I might continue like reading more books like from him because he's definitely like an interesting man. You know, um, and maybe I'm just like saying that because some of my favorite movies are like stuff like The Godfather and Scarface, stuff like that. You know, maybe I'm just like naturally oriented to liking material like from you know from that angle of it all. But hey, you could always learn. You could always like learn from people that that at least like in their own past, they didn't like live like the most like moral or ethical life. You can always like learn something from everybody. From like the best, from like the best and most ideal people to like some of the people that were some of the most horrendous people that we've ever known, like in like humanity. Like believe it or not, You know, like there's a lot of things you can learn from somebody like Hitler. You know, um, you know, like he gained a lot of influence. You know, in Germany somehow. You know, so like maybe like learning like how he was able to gain so much influence. You know, that maybe that's something that you can like adopt to, you know, to like how you want to like gain like your influence. You know. In the same way, how you we all learn from people like Martin Luther King, you know, or Gandhi, you know, like people like that, you know, Jesus. You know, you can learn like a lot of like life lessons from, you know, from the most moral and ethical people to, you know, people who were just like absolute terrible monsters. You know, there's always something that you can like learn from anybody. You know, but anyway. I think we've been doing this for about like 50 minutes or so, and you know I don't want to continue like rambling, you know, because I think I already discussed like the main topics I wanted to discuss today. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and head out now, and I'm starting to feel a little bit sweaty right now, you know. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't want anybody getting the wrong idea. Y'all know what I mean. But yeah. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode now. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. And of course, if you know anybody that would really enjoy an episode like this, that would really want to hear this kind of message, of course, like I always say, share this episode out and share this podcast, you know, to them because you know, one of the things that that really brings, you know, value for me is, you know, like hearing that people like, you know, enjoy like this podcast, you know, like hearing people that that say that you know, like, hey, you know, like your message that you put out like within this episode like really inspired me to do like X, you know, or really got me like off the couch, and now I'm doing like this business that I never would have done before if not hearing like your message within this podcast. You know, like hearing stuff like that, you know, it does like inspire me to continue moving, pushing, and motivating myself to be better and to, you know, getting, you know, like more content for all of you. All right, so if you do me like that one favor, it'll be very appreciative, and you will see me again next week with, I think, episode 7, Freedom and Hustle. All right, everyone, keep hustling. Have a good rest of the week, and take care. Nos vemos. Peace.